Welcome to Honest Whispers Review to Sell. On this video I'll be reviewing Justice League, the new 52 Series 3 Wonder Woman action figure. It was released by DC Collectibles back in November 14, 2012. This is their second line of figures released by DC Collectibles after changing their name from DC Direct. The first line of figures that they released was Matt's Alfred as the Justice League. This figure is based on Jim Lee's reboot of the DC Universe in September 2011. The sculptor is Jack Matthews, who did many other DC characters and Wonder Woman action figures. This figure is approximately 6 5/8 inches tall. And with the sword and arm, it can reach above 9 inches. I'm going to go over 6 different categories to review this. First category is design. Basically covers the look, the concept, and points of articulations. And this figure has 11 points of articulations. 1 on the neck, 2 on the shoulders, 2 elbows, 2 hips, and 2 knees. Now, unfortunately, few of the points of articulations are useless. First off is her neck. Due to her hair, she can't turn her head or really move her head. The only thing you can do is maybe tilt her head slightly up or down, and we're talking about very limited, like few degrees, couple degrees, like 2-3 degrees. So really no movement. Elbows and shoulders, you could pretty much do anything with it. As you can see here, this is my favorite pose with this figure. It's the most natural looking at the same time. It kind of blends with one of my Wonder Woman statues that I display next to her. And this one, whether right here, you can see the elbow, it does bend up to 90 degrees. And on the back here, you could pretty much rotate the shoulder in any direction and lift it up pretty much 90 degrees. Now, the hip joints, they can only bend forward 45 degrees, but they can bend back almost 90 degrees. Knee joints, you could pretty much do 90 degrees, but unfortunately, due to her default position, as you can see, her legs are slightly in a wide stance. Her feet, or rather her toes, are pointing in opposite directions, sort of. Well, not opposite, but as you can see, they are angled out. And also due to the angle of her legs, her ankles have a slight angle to them as well. So what happens is that when you start bending the legs forward, the base of her, first off, her legs or feet start spreading apart. Although you could only bend forward and backward because it's spread, I guess it just stays in the same separated length. But the feet, or at least the toes, or the base of the feet, due to the angle it's in, the more you lift it, the more the feet becomes in an angle. So if you're trying to position her in a different way, she's gonna lose stability and balance. Although her right foot does have a peg hole, so you could maybe build a base of your own or use an old base that might fit, because otherwise, I mean, it doesn't come with the base. And this is really at least her leg position wise, this is really the only stable position you can have where she's able to stand on her own. But at least the points of articulations, the joints are more seamless. The arms look a little bit more planned out. The shoulders are probably the worst, especially here. The more you lift it, the more you see the seam line. And even on her biceps, it doesn't have a completely natural looking fit to it. Although the bicep look itself, it looks fine whether if the arms or the elbow is bent like that or straightened out. It still has a natural look to it. And all the muscles overall well designed. It's not too muscular, but at the same time she's not the skinny or unathletic version, which I don't mind at all. So, but this one overall looks great. The design, even though you can't change much of the position, I mean, you could have default positions right here with the arm lowered. And of course, this is the first new 52 action figure, so that is very accurately done as well. So I give the design an 8 out of 10. Next category is sculpting. Sculpting pretty much covers the details, the molding, and of course any flaws that there may be, whether it's something that doesn't fit right, unproportioned, or just something badly sculpted. Well, first off, you can see that there's a lot of good details here on the hair. Very naturally looking hair strands. Not every strand is the same width. You get certain areas that's wider, smoother, ends in nice natural lengths. Like it's not all in the same length, or it's just like bubbled up. So I like the look of the hair. It has a natural look to it. Very nice details for something intricate like the tiara, the choker, and even on this, the armband is sculpted rather than painted or imprinted on there. Very good and accurate details on the costume, starting with the breastplate, and even right here, all those lines, intricate little lines, the stars, very straight, accurate. The belt, and even the lines on her Star Spangled panties right here, or short shorts. Everything pretty much smoothly sculpted. But as you can see, you'll notice that her left butt cheek, which is part of the left thigh, even though this is in the default position because the lines on her costume are aligned. So if you move the leg up or down, the lines won't be as aligned. And as you can see, you could see a chunk of her butt cheek sticking out, particularly her left butt cheek. So that's like a bad sculpt mistake. They got the measurements wrong, slightly off. And you can see on the right butt cheek, it's very smooth, seamless, everything fits. So the edge of this right thigh and hip matches the center point, while the left butt cheek just doesn't fit. So that's a bit of a flaw. And even from afar, it's kind of noticeable. Now also the boots are very nicely done. You get some natural wrinkles here and there, proportionately very good. You get some nice definitions on the muscle definitions on the thighs, but as you can see, a lot of the surface area is not that smooth, especially like this line going in the middle, going across in the middle of both thighs. And certain areas, it just, you get this rough edge, rough surface, so you get this Velveeta cheese thigh action going on, or some cellulite action on her thighs. You can see even the seam line where the cast was, even here on her side you can see that seam line where the two cast plates were basically put together. Not as bad as other figures, but definitely you could tell by the quality of it. Could have been better. Like certain areas right here, like it's just too, the line is too, I don't know how, indented. So it almost looks unnatural right there, like she got cut. It's like a scar looking thing. And you don't get that same thing here on the left eye, so you know something's not right. So the sculpting, overall it is good, but when you start looking up close, there's a lot of flaws here and there. Most body parts are proportional. Her boobs are very nicely done. Overall, they even try to make this cleavage effect, which you don't really see in other figures. But then one flaw I have is that, or I see to me, is that the breastplate, it makes it look like where the breastplate is going over the breasts, it almost looks like the breastplate is too flat, or it's even squeezing on the breast, so you get this slight lopsidedness. I don't know if that's intentional, but at this point it would have looked better if the breastplate, that silver part, was thicker. Otherwise, the way it looks right now, it looks slightly like, when you look from the side, slightly deformed looking. So it's a hit and miss. I don't mind it. I think it looks fine overall, and it's hard to really notice that. For me, the butt is kind of unproportioned. If you look from the back, the butt looks way too small and narrow. So that, to me, because when you look at the thighs, and even it almost looks like her waist or torso is a little bit too short when you look from the back. And as I mentioned, her butt just looks a little too narrow and flat. And even the way this is kind of, I mean, in certain angles, doesn't look bad at all. But even from the front, I feel like her hip just gets a little too narrow. So the sculpting, I give the score a 7 out of 10. Next category is colors. Basically, it covers the painting, the paint quality, application, and imprinting. And as you can see, the colors are pretty much as accurate as you can get with the comic. And overall, the paint is done pretty well, but every figure is different, and this figure does have a lot of eye issues. Even with mine, this could be part slightly due to sculpting error, but as you can see, definitely for the paint or the eyes, the right eye is, well, both eyes are kind of separated. You get this slight fisheye look effect. And when you look even closer, it feels like the right eye is more off to the right or outside toward the outer side of the head face than the left eye. And now when you start looking at the cheeks, it almost looks like the right side of her face is more puffier than her left side. Her left side, it goes down more in an angle, more straight down. Her right side looks like it's going more, it's like puffed out, more rounded, which is more of a sculpting flaw. Lips are done well. For something small like the stars on the tiara and the choker, really done well. But you do see, like for instance the silver here, you do see it bleeding onto the red. Armband surprisingly done pretty nicely. You get overall nice straight lines and you don't get too much bleeding. Bracelets done well. Sword, you really can't mess that up really. And it's a very simple looking sword. Let's see, the paint on the lasso and right here on the belt, it gets a bit rough. And even on the belt, you don't get this nice straight lines. It gets a bit wavy. And then the white star right there, you get, it's not quite on the border. You could see that borderline, a lot of the blue on the borderline compared to this star where the white fills out entirely throughout the border. Her left star, you could see it's not fully painted in there, and the little blue dot right there. Back, minor errors here and there. You get some red spots on the silver belt. Some paint flaws here on the back of the boot. You see that little white dot or black dot on the white line, and the white line itself isn't really that straight. Get this slight wiggling lines, even on the blue angle, that point right there on the angle part, and the white bleeding onto the border. And of course here, probably the worst of all, it's almost like white, it's like white scratches. Somebody must have, whoever was painting this must have messed up and must have just slightly had the brush a little too close when he was pulling away. So for me, the colors, it's accurate, and on certain parts, like it's all pretty much matte finish, but at least for the silver, you do kind of get this shine to it. I think the application could have been a lot better, and keep in mind there's a lot of cross-eyed, googly-eyed issue going on with this figure. I had to go to 3 different stores to find one that looked as straight as possible, and even with this, the eyes are slightly off. So due to that, I give the color score a 6 out of 10. Next category is packaging. And for packaging, this is a nice window box packaging. And And it does come with the flap, so you can hang it. So it's almost like an in-between a blister package and a box package. And this one, I do like the design. It's very consistent with all the other characters that's been released. As you can see on the back, here are some examples of ones that's released and going to be released. Of course, not all of them were released at the same time. So usually it went from in to out. So Superman, Batman, those were the first ones, I believe. And this one, overall I like it. There are some, how you say, gloss finish on the packaging. So the background is all matte, but then the picture, you'll see a slight reflection. So the picture, it has a slight gloss to it. The window is nice. You do see it's a continuous window from the top to bottom. So I like how it has the angle and everything. So overall, the box is very nice. It's not that hard to keep in good condition. This is basically, the flap is the only thing that kind of gets in the way. But other than that, everything is pretty much, well, I won't say standard, but it's a nice, unique design. It's, at the same time, I don't think it's definitely an improvement to what they used to use. And it looks clean. So I give the packaging score a 7 out of 10. Next category is value. Value basically is retail versus quality and retail versus aftermarket. And unfortunately, this one just doesn't have much aftermarket at all. But for the quality you get, definitely up there. So in this situation, I am selling the unopened one, and I have decided to keep the open one or the loose figure for myself because I do like this figure a lot. So even the loose one I won't be selling. And this one, as you can see, the box is in near mint condition. No tears, no creases or anything. Maybe some very minor scuffing, which you have to look very closely into the light. It is still factory sealed, although this one tape on the edges, it's just slightly dirty. This one's still perfectly on there without any issues. But I bought this, as you can see here on the bottom of the box. I even have the original price tag, $21.99 when it first came out. And right now for a used one, I've seen them go as low as $16, and that's including shipping. Or basically like $8 plus like $8 shipping. And I've seen a new one, although only one available, as low as $20, and that includes shipping as well, or free shipping. Now, other than that one $20 cheap one, the others, I guess the next lowest one is about $25, and that includes shipping too. So there really isn't, for something this old, 2012, 6 years old, there's pretty much no aftermarket at all. But even at 22 retail, or right now if you can find it for even cheaper than what it was when it first came out, then this is something definitely worth the quality that you pay for. So it's sort of like definitely worth the money, even if you pay up to $25. I like the look of it. I like the, as I said, the design, and it is overall accurate in color. So putting sentimental value aside, I mean, just as you see what you get, definitely worth your buck. But unfortunately, this is something that I don't see really going up in value unless maybe like another 15, at least another 10 years, possibly another a good 20 years, you'll probably finally see some aftermarket value to it. So due to that, I give the value score a 4, slightly under average, 4 out of 10. Final categories overall, basically it accounts for all the 5 prior categories: design, sculpting, colors, packaging, and value. And as I just mentioned earlier, this is definitely something I like a lot. Definitely something I wouldn't be selling or letting go anytime soon. But since I do have a double, I'll probably go ahead and list the unopened one for sale. Just go with the average, see how it goes. If it doesn't sell, I'll just hold on to it and keep it stored, preserve the condition, and see how it goes. Otherwise, I like the look of this overall. I did have to go around shopping for it. Of course, the one I'm selling, I'm just as picky, so this one, if I had to open this one, wouldn't have mattered. But this is the one I thought had the most symmetrical and accurate looking like eyes and paint overall. And also, compared to many other figures out there, this is one of the better looking ones. Especially the face, even with the slight minor flaws. So due to that, I give the overall score a 8 out of 10. So to recap, design, 8 out of 10. Sculpting, 7 out of 10. Colors, 6 out of 10. Packaging, 7 out of 10. Value, 4 out of 10. And overall, 8 out of 10. Thank you for watching. Until next time, eat your vitamins and say your prayers.